Yep, there it goes.
Hey.
Why me first? Gary Raffa, Heritage Plumbing and Heating, looking to find out how to operate my website.
Cool, man. Okay, Kelly McGuire. Just got to unmute your mic.
Hi, how are you, Tom?
How's it going?
I'm working with Jason for Purity Plus. So you're just starting us up on our website. So I'm just getting some information about developing the website with you and how to start using it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, it's still in process. We got a few more minor tweaks to make. Most important thing is making the design look like the example that we provided. And I will show you that example throughout the course of the meeting today. All right, so,
okay, great.
Okay, Gary Scarano, you're off of mute.
Yeah, I sent you a note earlier, but I'm on GoDaddy, and I have a corporate server. I can have a number of different websites on there, and I've got hardly anything going on. And GoDaddy's telling me that, hey, your WordPress is choking everything out. It's really killing it. This is a problem going across the whole spectrum of all GoDaddy/Go WordPress users, and everybody's having this problem. You got to upgrade to bandwidth. It's like a sales call. And I just want to know if you've heard anything about that with GoDaddy.
Yeah, we can address that at the end of our meeting. We have about a half hour where we're going to get into specifics. That's more of a hosting question, I would say. And as a disclaimer, we don't use GoDaddy as a hosting platform. We use Amazon Web Services. It's the best literally in the world. They are responsible for at least 30 or 40% of websites that are available today, either through a reseller or directly from their platform. So we got off of GoDaddy approximately 5 years ago because we saw what they were doing is they were dumping 5,000 websites on every single server and then just trying to upsell people to get their own virtual private servers, their own private servers, which costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars per month, bottom line. So we came up with a nice midpoint. Basically what we do is we create virtual private servers of our own. We're currently launching Cloud 6. Each one of them holds approximately 50 websites, all right? And they share the bandwidth and the space, but those are contained within one server instead of 5,000 of them. Ergo, the websites that we run, you know, they run faster, they got more storage space, and they're much better for mobile, people viewing your website on mobile. So if you'd like to transfer some of those websites to a different host, we could talk about that, but we'll go into that toward the end there. Okay, so, and thank you for your questions, and thank you for being here. Just so you know, this the meeting is being recorded. I hope that's okay with everyone. And what we're going to do is we're going to share my screen, and let's get to work here. So on our agenda, and if you see my screen, this is the PowerPoint that we typically turn into a user guide for each one of our clients that we build and host and maintain various websites over the years, past 13 years. We've modified this so that it's a little bit more user-friendly. It used to be a Word document, and it went on, blah, 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 much like I do when I talk. But this is a little bit cleaner. There's a table of contents that allows you to go to each individual place within the document to figure out exactly what you need to do. You know, so you don't have to search through tons of paperwork. It's just one user manual. In addition to that, we are launching a series of individual videos for each one of these particular slides. So in case the user manual isn't completely updated, you know, with the exact steps, the videos will show you how to get to each individual step. So we'll use that as our guidebook for today. Let me just head over to the Facebook, actually to the email that I sent to you guys. One moment, please. Here we go. So our agenda, part one is we're going to talk about the essentials. And the first thing is how to log in to your WordPress website. All right. So we see this demonstration design that we have here. Your design may be very different than the one that I'm showing here. We're not going to go too deep into design today. We're just going to show you how to maintain the essential, most important elements of your website. And the name of the game is update your website as regularly as possible with text, pictures, information that's going to help your clients. Even if they don't use your services, they will appreciate the fact that you are writing something that's going to help them out. And when the time comes, when they need an expert, well, you've already provided them with free information. They will very likely come back and request more information on your website, perhaps via a contact form, perhaps through a shopping cart, or whatever type of service that you're looking to offer to your core clientele. So we'll use an example website for this particular project. We've created newcitywebdesign.com. It's something that we keep for demonstration purposes. To log in to your WordPress website, typically it's the website domain, and hopefully everybody can see my mouse up at the top of the screen. The website domain /WP-admin. All right, and that's listed in the user manual as well. For instance, this is an example for a website, Beauty by Oni, www.beautybyoni.com /WP-admin. All right, and obviously that stands for WordPress-admin. So we go to the site. We're going to log in. You're going to end up on a place where you have a username and a password. For those of you here that are getting a website launched, we are going to provide that information to you. I should also note that at the bottom of this login, there is a place where you can click and retrieve your password. You simply type in your email address that's connected with the username, and an email will be sent out with the new password attached to it. Now, I should mention that sometimes that email shows up in spam, so please check your spam folder for anything that says your WordPress login, et cetera, et cetera. Now, throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, please write them in chat, and we'll do what we can to answer them once we get to part two of this. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a moment so I don't show our username and password. So just one moment, please. Okay, and we are logging in, and we are back. Sharing screen. And there we go. All right. So when you first log in, all right, you're going to see a few things. This middle area, in the middle of your administrative area, that's a dashboard. Now, to be perfectly frank, I don't find the dashboard itself to be very useful, at least when you first log in. You could get some basic things like welcome to WordPress, customize your site. That's all well and good. But the really, really important stuff happens on the left-hand side of the menu that you have within WordPress. You'll note some things sometimes that WordPress requires a few updates. If you're hosted with Rockland Web, you do get a free one data backup per month on your website, typically which is conducted toward the beginning of each month when your hosting plan renews. We then go in and update all of these plugins for you. Now, if you want to go in and update them on your own, please feel free to do so. We're just going to do a quick update of these really quick. Just going to check off this box and click Update Plugins. And you'll see all those programs, much like on your own computer, Windows device, Apple device, there's updates that need to be done on that computer. The same thing has to do with the software that helps to run your website. You see all those things just got updated. There might be a few more, such as a theme or something. So we just typically just go to update each of them. In a 1 in 1,000 shot, sometimes the website will get borked because one of the plugins doesn't play nicely with another plugin. That's where the data backup comes into play. So we can roll back to the previous data backup. If you have just, kind of like a moderate website that you're not updating on a regular basis, maybe you get 5-10 customers that are checking it out each day, probably not a big deal to just have that one data backup. However, if you're doing lots and lots of sales, hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars in sales per day, it might be conducive to do a little bit more of a data backup. We can roll up the number of data backups that you have per month, once a week. Most of the time, you don't need once a day until you're doing a lot of volume, but you can get a few extra data backups each month. So we have our updates that are done. Let's see if there's anything left. And we want to update. There's one other item. I guess I'll check that later, but there's one other item we got to update. I don't want to waste anyone's time here. So let's go to the next item. We just talked about how to log in. All right. Let's talk about WordPress in general. All right. And I see that somebody posted a question in chat. Gary, yes, there is an auto update function. We'll talk about that toward the end. Okay, so let's talk about how WordPress operates. The basic premise, back when the web was created and so on, you had to hire a developer and a designer and a business consultant, and you had to have all these pieces. One, you had to have this beautiful design. And you'd have a designer, nothing against the design industry, because it was back, we're talking about like in the 80s and 90s, we'd have somebody that would be sitting with you for like hours on end, and it's like, tell me about your feelings. Tell me what your favorite colors are. Tell me what your favorite fonts are, and tell me what this and that and everything like that. And it's all well and good. But the thing is that these days, there's only about maybe a dozen, possibly 24 different designs that are really unique. All right. So what we did, and not just us, but the web development community worldwide, created many, many different themes that kind of create a certain look and feel for how you want the site to look. So it takes out a lot of that legwork, a lot of it. So when we start, we come up with a nice standardized theme, all right, as you see here. And then, yes, of course, we can design it to make it really, really nice and elaborate. Good example, just on the flip side, here's Hoff Bartelson Music School. We just finished that about 6 months ago. It's a wonderful site. So you could do really a lot with a pre-created theme. And it saves you a lot of time and hopefully a lot of money as well. So this is an end result type of site. So what does WordPress do? How does that come into play? Well, we take that theme and then we connect it to the front ends of the website so that all the pages that run through it are able to have a certain layout. And you see here, you see the top header area, menu bar, content, there's a little sidebar on the side, there's a background, but it allows us to be able to change any of that text, picture, media files, video very, very quickly, especially with the newest version of WordPress. And I'm going to show you an example of that right now. So right now we have an About Us page. All right. I'm going to do this really quickly. I'm not going to explain. I'm just going to get it done. All right. And then afterwards, I will show you how this is done so that you can do the same thing very, very quickly. Just going to move this Zoom window, boom, alignment right, insert into page. We're going to update it and we're going to go back and boom, there we go. So within a matter of about 30 seconds, we've changed all that dummy text into something that's a little bit more visually compelling. Not looking for some sort of an Oscar or a Grammy or any other sort of award there. But the point is that you can very, very quickly deploy new information on your website yourself. That's what we're here for. Another thing, note that the layout is currently, you have a content area on the left-hand side and a little sidebar. Maybe you don't want a sidebar. The way that WordPress works is usually those themes can be adjusted in terms of layout. I'm going to take that layout and adjust it very quickly so there's only a content area. We're going to go back, and now you see that the content area has been expanded and there is currently no sidebar. All right. So all of these things come into play where you can update text, pictures, and such on the website. The other nice thing about WordPress is it allows you to extend your website to perform a multitude of other functions. And this is conducted via the plugins menu. And the plugins menu allows you to be able to add very, very cool stuff that you can use so that you can get stuff done on your website better. The best example I have of that is something called Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms allows an individual to be able to very quickly deploy a form on any of their web pages. I'm just going to create a form very quickly. All right, I'm going to update it. I'm going to add it to a page. Put it on that about page that we just had now. Add form, insert form, contact, boom, update. Let's go back. And now you have a contact form. All right. And that contact form can go directly to your email or even to a text message if you want. You can do that. So the point is that is a plugin that you can very readily add to your website. And there's literally millions and millions of plugins. One thing to note is that some of the plugins are not very well supported and could potentially lead to security issues. So anytime that you're thinking about putting a new plugin on your website, please contact Rockland Web and we'll give you some advice as to whether it's a good plugin or a bad plugin. An example of that is the Gravity Forms plugin has a competitor called Ninja Forms. Ninja Forms is now vulnerable based on a blog that we saw several weeks ago from a very reliable security source. So you want to always check and make sure that these plugins are reliable and are not going to compromise your website in any way, especially what we're going to be doing over the next few years. It's going to get kind of feisty out there. Let's just put it that way. So that's generally how WordPress works. All right. And the bottom line is you deploy a theme, you get it on the web, and then you want to update your website as early and often as possible with new text, new pictures, and potentially new video. So for the next 10 minutes or so, I'm also going to show you how to write content on your website. When we go back to the dashboard, on the left-hand side, we're going to note a few very important tabs that you can use to update your website. The first is the posts function. Another is the media function, pictures, video, things like that. And finally, we have the pages function. We're going to start with the posts function. WordPress has been around for approximately, I think, a dozen or more years. I don't have the exact date. I guess I should. We've been using it for about 8 years. Originally, WordPress started out as a blog posting type of platform. And the idea there, again, going back to the premise, deploying information very quickly. All right. So the blog post is essentially a method of updating your core audience or even just general web users that are come across your website about what's going on in your business, the latest news that's related to your industry, educational tips to show people how to do things on their own. Really anything. You could put comedy on there. You could put testimonials from your clients. You can put information about the release of a new product or a security update or really anything. And you can come up with your own theme for what you want to write. To add this information to your website, under the posts function, you're going to start by clicking on the Add New button. And from there, you're going to write a quick title. Let's say, how to update your website. And then in the box underneath, there's a location where you can type in what you'd like to explain to your audience. All right. And I'm just going to put something real quick. All right. And the editor acts very much like Microsoft Word. So if any of you have used Microsoft Word, you type something, you hit enter, and it automatically goes down approximately 2 spaces so that you can write something else. All right, so it works pretty much along the same lines. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to use very Microsoft Word style features to click on a bulleted list button. I'm just going to put some general things here. Click on posts on left. Click on add new. Write a title. Write a description. All right. Add an image. We'll get to that. And the final step is if you look on the right-hand side of the page, you're going to see something that says publish. All right. So you click on the publish button, and now that particular page is technically live on the internet. Or as we like to joke around here, we call it the interwebs. Update. Every time that you want to update something, you just simply continue to click on that blue update button, which you'll see very often across the entirety of the website. We're going to go back and view the post. And lo and behold, whoop, it's a daisy. There we go. All right, so again, very simple. We have our title. The date automatically gets added. Information to update your website blog post and the content that you have. While you're logged in, up at the very top of the screen, if you have the latest version of WordPress, there's a black bar that allows you to go back into that particular page and re-edit or change any information that you want. All right, so I went back in. Just a few things that you can do. You could set a category for your blog. Let's say, for instance, I'll use Gary as an example. Gary does plumbing, heating, various different areas of his expertise. So Gary could have a blog about plumbing and a separate blog post about heating, and we can categorize those on the right-hand side. Typically, you want to put it in like a blog or a news category, something like that. I'm just going to check all three. And what this does is if you decide that you want to create a specific section of your website just related to, for instance, plumbing, only those blog posts that are categorized in that particular category, plumbing, you can set to go on that page. All right, so it's a really nice way of taking, let's say, 50 different blogs, saying that 25 of them are related to plumbing, creating a page, and then just taking those 25 blog posts and automatically dropping it into that page very, very quickly. That categories function is on the right-hand side of every blog post that you write. And again, you hit the blue update button and it puts that information in there. Okay, and another thing that we can do here is we can add a picture. So we're going to click on a button that's just underneath the title bar. It says Add Media. Click on that. And again, we'll just grab just a single image. To add that image, we would go to the right-hand side and insert it. If you currently don't have the image in your image library that's in the back end of your website, you also can upload an image from your hard drive. To do this, in the top left-hand corner, there's a button called Upload Files. We're going to click on Upload Files. We'll click on Select Files, and then we're going to go look for a particular image that we're going to use. Let's use our Ace Web Marketing images. We're just going to take this image, load it up, click on it, and then the dimensions of that image show up on the right-hand side. From here, if you want to do a little bit of search engine work, we could talk about that at another session. You can create a title and a description of your image. You could set the alignment of that image to the left or right. I'll just set it to the left. And we can even set the size of that image from this location. We'll just set it to 300 pixels. We won't make it too large. We're going to pop it into the post, and boom, there we go. We can always change that later on by moving it up and down, or pretty much anywhere that you want on the site. All right. I'm going to delete this image. And let's bring this one over here. And there we go. We'll update. We're going to view the post. And there we go. So the image shows up right next to the text. Okay. There are other locations where you can add images into your website. We're going to go back to the dashboard and note that I'm clicking on the black bar in the top left-hand corner where it says New City Web Design. We're going to click on that area. And then we're going to go down to the next tab just below Posts called the Media Library. The Media Library will show you all of the images that you currently have loaded onto your website hosting plan. Please note that this doesn't mean that they're showing up all over the website. It just means that they're available and don't need to be uploaded into the website again. We're going to click on the Add New button. You'll find that that button does show up very often in the same place across the entirety of your WordPress platform. So we're going to add new media in this case. We're going to click on Add New. You'll be asked to upload files. All right, and then from here, let's go grab a few other images. Let's go here, boom. Let's see if we can find something. Let's try this. All right, so we have a few images here. Workforce Development Board. So here what you can do is you can click on one image and upload it. Or if you want to upload a lot of images, you can drag across and highlight all the images at once. You can also take your finger and hold it on the Control, or I believe the Commands button in Apple, but I use Windows. So the Control button on your keyboard, it's typically the bottom right-hand key on your keyboard. I'm sorry, the bottom left-hand button on your keyboard called Control or Command. Hold it down and then click on each image that you want to load into the website. So same result, but whichever way that you like to do your work, either click or drag across. We're going to click on Open, and each of those images will load into the media library. All right, and once it's done, it's done. So now if we go back into the posts area, and you wanted to, say, for instance, put another image into your blog post, we would simply go back to the Add Media button, click on any of the images that you have just brought in, and they are available. So you've loaded them up once, and that's it. It's there. All right. And typically in your hosting plan, we give you 1 gigabyte of space, which is really good enough for like thousands and thousands of images. If they're, you know, say 1/4 of a megabyte large, you can load up thousands of these things. So we'll put it to show up on the right. We'll update it, and boom, there you go. So we have our text, your description, and a little image on the right-hand side. And again, note, you know, just going back to this, you can always change the layout. There's this little layout settings button underneath your blog posts and your pages. Click on the full screen width, update, view post, and now you have a full width page. And that's usually available in the websites that we do, unless we're using a really, really customized theme. So just something to be aware of. All right. The final thing that we're going to discuss is how to create pages. Now, this is really easy because, quite frankly, pages are pretty much blog posts. They're blog posts without titles of authors that have written the blog post, nor are there any dates associated with the blog post. So let's take a look at how that operates. We're going to go back into your WordPress dashboard. And on the left-hand side, again, we've covered posts, media, and now we're going to flip over to pages. So in the pages area, you have a list of pages that we've created. The difference between a blog post versus a page, blogs are more updated news and information, stuff that's happening, I'd say within the scope of a week, maybe a month. And you want to do at least 1 blog post a month about anything. In all seriousness, if you want to write about the history and magic of cobblestone sidewalks, do it. But you know, you want to continually update your website because Google wants you to write more and more text on your website. That's how you get good search engine rankings. All right. But WordPress pages are things that you're probably not going to update that often. For instance, the About Us page. In all honesty, how often are you going to update it? Every year? Maybe every few years? We have a great website that we've been working on for about a month now with a client, and we know that the page is only going to be updated once. So we're going to do the work for them on that, and then they don't have to worry about it anymore. All right. So if we go into the pages area on the left-hand side, and we click on that About Us area, well, we have a title area up at the top, same as the blog post. We have a description area in the middle of the screen, same as a blog post. We have a layout area, same as a blog post. What's missing is there's no specific date. Well, there's a date that you're publishing, but it's not going to show up on the front visible version of the web page when it's done. Example, if we go to click on view page here, you see that there's no date information because, you know, again, we're only going to use this once, maybe twice a year to update that post. All right. So essentially what I'm saying is if you know how to write a blog post, you already know how to write a page. Title, description, maybe a picture or two, the blue update button, and boom, it's deployed. All right. And in addition to that, like I mentioned, you can always add in a contact form. So that contact form that I had mentioned, notice that there's a button right next to the Add Media button that says Add Form. So if we click on Add Form, you'll be asked to choose a form that you've already created to add into the website page. And we're just going to update it with that blue button on the right-hand side. And then we'll click on View Page. And there's our contact form. All right. As a pro tip, and this is where I'll leave off, we can do some more lessons, but I want to turn it over to you for specific questions. There's an area, as I had mentioned, the Forms function that you can click on, and you can edit how the form shows up. And there's a multitude of fields. I can provide you documentation on how to use this feature. But let's just say we wanted to change this to name, change this to address, phone number, and email address. And then we're going to save this form. Update it. Now, if we go back to that page, the About page that I had been mentioning, zoom in a little bit. About us, we're going to view it. So we've changed those form names so that that information can come over to you and you know what the information is about, you know, name, address, phone number, and such. All right. So that's it for my initial tutorial on how to use the essential elements of WordPress. And I'm going to turn it over to you guys for questions and answers. Please note that I'll be happy to trim any questions that you have that you don't necessarily want to have already. I'll be happy to remove that. So please just let me know, like when you start your question, if you want me to take that particular area off. I could pause the video and then you could ask your question and then I'll turn the video on afterwards or something like that. Does anybody have any specific question? You could either raise your hand or you can write it in chat. I'll just wait for some feedback now. All right. So we have that message from Gary Scarano about auto update. And Kelly, I see your hands up. I'm just going to answer Gary and then I'll come back to you. So Gary, I have you off of mute right now. Please go ahead and ask your question. Gary Scarano, are you there? Okay. While Gary's away, he's probably on a phone call. I'll just show you a little auto update feature that is available. Update now. Updated version of WordPress. Okay, so the latest version of WordPress has updated in here. I believe there is an auto update feature. Let me just check on that momentarily. I'm just going to do a quick Google search. Update. WordPress automatic updates. Boom, boom, boom. Core updates, plugin updates, core development. Okay, yeah, so there is an auto update function where you don't have to manually go in. It's basically writing a bit of code to add in the automatic update or disabled attribute and change it to true. All right, that's typically in the wconfig PHP file. Now, you know, mind you, this is a little bit programmy, so just bear with me a little bit. But each website has what's known as a WP config file. It looks like this. All right, it's a bunch of code. This is the stuff we do. Again, you don't have to do this. All right. So there's a feature that should be in here for auto update. Let's see. All right, so it's not in here. I'm basically going to simply bring in this particular attribute into the website, the file, and then what we would do is take a program called FileZilla, and then we would auto update that particular site. Basically, log in from here, and then take that file that we just updated and load it into the website. So I hope that answers your question. Going to switch over to Kelly for your question.
So just in updating the, loading the media, the photos. So any media or video, you would choose the different page that you'd want it on from that side and then upload it as such, correct? You know, you were doing it on the intro page, but you can choose on your drop-down screens if you wanted like a photo section. It's the same type of thing, correct?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. I have to obviously look at it and work with it, but that's how I'm thinking. I'm just verbalizing to you. That's how you would do it, correct?
Yeah, totally. And also I should note, and we're going to have a one-on-one training because that is also included with every website launch. You, myself, Jason possibly will
Yeah.
to go over that. But essentially, yes. So any web page that you want to update, you basically go into that web page and then just use the media button to bring in different things, say for instance, from your computer, or there's even an app for your phone where you can basically just load it up from your phone, from your iPhone or your Android. So it's
I was going to ask that because most of that is done on your mobile device. You know, you're doing video on your locations of your sites.
Yep. Yeah. So I feel they've made it fairly easy to for the typical things that we would do on a daily basis to update it as quickly as possible.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions that we have out there? All right. Feel free to, you know, we have another 15 minutes. So, I mean, we can certainly end early. Really happy to do that these days because we're just swamped. But I want to make sure that you get every piece of information that you can get from this. So, you know, please feel free to ask any other questions. While you're asking, I'm going to flip back to the user manual that I had mentioned. If you can write a question in chat if you have it. So this table of contents, we just finished the latest version of this user manual approximately 4 or 5 months ago. It was at the end of 2019, you know, before the world blew up. And we have these available for every one of our customers. So if you do need a user manual that's customized specifically to your website, with your login information and such, please let us know and we'll be happy to email you this entire user manual. And we try to be very responsive these days, you know, not to, you know, braggadocio, but we had done our plans for redeveloping our business about 2 years ago. We had no idea what was happening, you know, this year. Unfortunately, this kind of fell in our laps. But it seems that the way that we've adjusted how we are helping people or doing business with people as well, we're doing it in a way that tries to be educational and informative and answer questions a lot quicker, trying to get to them as quickly as possible. I say that with a grain of salt because sometimes we're, you know, inundated with emails. There is that, but we try to get back to people as quickly as possible. So, any other questions you may have? Okay. All right. Well, this was a good session, guys. Let me just share my screen one more time. And actually, I apologize. I didn't show you my screen with the user manual, but this is the user manual that I was referring to. So please let me know. You can either text me or email me. Let me know if you need this user manual sent to you with your specific information for your specific website, and we'll get that right out to you. We are going to do another meeting like this. I'm going to shoot for at least once a month. Just wanted to test the waters and make sure that this was useful. If you have any specific questions that we can help with your website, our main support line is 845-877-7333. Typically, all you have to do is dial extension 1, and myself or several of my colleagues can answer the wire, especially before 3 o'clock. And I'm always listening to it afterwards, so we're there. You can also text message that number, and we'll respond back to you as quickly as we can. Final thing to ask, at the close of this presentation, I'm going to send each of you a link to fill out just an evaluation of Rockland Web. I know some of you have already filled it out. Thank you. Appreciate that. But this is the place where we basically have all of our reviews through our Google site. And feel free to, tell us what we're doing wrong. I mean, we're at the point, we've been doing this for a while, and we're thankfully at a point where we can look at these and, not get a sad face, and rather look at it as positive feedback and constructive criticism so that we can improve our processes internally, because we are in it to win it, and we want you guys to be in it to win it as well. It's a very challenging time, I'm sure, for each of us. We're shifting how we do things, so we want to help out as best as possible and be there when you need us. So I'll just do another last quick check of the chat. I think we're all up to date here. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions, give us a holler. God bless you guys. Thank you for being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you. I'll send out another Facebook message, an email with an upcoming WordPress event. And Kelly, we'll get in touch to set up the timing for doing the one-on-one training.
Thank you so much. It was very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of the week.
You too.
Take care.